functionality to our customers through integration with best-of-breed, market-leading solutions. Netstock's inventory optimization platform is already delivering tangible value to Klipboard customers, helping them reduce inventory levels and costs while increasing efficiency across demand planning and forecasting. Without giving too much more away, I'll hand the microphone over now to Lainey from Netstock, who will tell you more. Welcome, Lainey.
Thank you so much, Tanya. And welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining. So Rian and I are excited to be here and talk a little bit more about our product to you. Rian, if you want to go to the next slide, you can show our pretty faces here. So I'm going to be presenting with Rian, who's our VP of Solutions Consulting. And I am the channel alliance manager between Netstock and Klipboard. And so the two of us are going to help you learn a little bit more about who Netstock is, how we can help you, what value we bring to you, and then you're actually going to see the product in action. Rian's going to jump in and show you what we have. So next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about us. So who is Netstock? So Netstock's been around for quite some time. And the unique thing about us is that we were founded by supply chain experts who saw a need for small and medium businesses that enterprise companies had always had in their solutions. But to have something affordable, easy to use, and understandable to use for a small and medium business, there just wasn't a tool available. So our founders decided we're going to write something that can provide efficiencies and value to small and medium businesses. And 16 years ago, Netstock was born. A few things about us. Our main goal here at Netstock is to make sure that our customers always have the right stock at the right place at the right time. And we do that through helping improve forecast accuracy, through identifying excess stock and slow-moving stock so that customers can reduce the inventory and release working capital. We want to help improve visibility so that you're no longer experiencing a lot of stockouts, so that you're protecting the client satisfaction and your customer service levels. We have daily safety stock calculations across all items, all locations, so that your manual efforts are reduced. And finally, our greatest or most recent tool is our AI-driven recommendations. So we have a proactive tool that helps cut costs and improve fill rates, and seeing that faster ROI that you can, if you have a few minutes in your day, you can use the AI tool to see what I should be focusing on each day. And I think one of the biggest things on this slide is up there in the upper right-hand corner is that ISO 27001 certification. So that means that our information security has been independently audited and it meets a global recognized standard of security. So a lot of stuff on this slide, but it does give you a background on who we are and what we focus on. Our mission is we really, really believe that every small and medium business, deserves to have a tool to compete, to make your company better. And it doesn't matter how big or small you are, you have access to the right tools. And I talked a little bit about the built-in AI and helping to see things better and easier and more efficient. That's really important for us to provide that to you. So that's our mission. And, we're doing this every day, day in and day out, to help improve your life. All right. So we deliver value across many different verticals and industries, from wholesale and distribution to automotive, food and beverage, etc. So we can help customers across many, many different industries and verticals. And so that's why we work so well with Klipboard and with companies like yourself. You can learn a lot more about what we do on the website, so I encourage you to take a look, or talk to your Klipboard rep, and you can learn more about that as well. All right, so what are some of the pain points we solved? Well, I talked a little bit about that in the opening slide, but there's so many things that small and medium businesses are doing today that cause some inefficiencies. So over-relying on spreadsheets. When you rely on them for forecasting or for placing orders with suppliers, there's a lot of inefficiencies there. And so we're here to help automate that and make it a lot easier for you to do business. We want to get that cash that's locked up in excess inventory. We want to free that up for you, so you have the cash to build your business in the areas that can be much more helpful. I talked about the stocking out leading to lost sales. We're going to help prevent that. We're going to give you more reliable forecasts and have a better and more accurate safety stock levels so that you can manage it better and keep track of that much better. All right, so there's 4 KPIs that you can see by using Netstock. We can go to the next slide. So what are you going to see once you start using us? Well, across our 2,500 plus customers, these are the things that they're seeing. So 50% increase in forecast accuracy, 70% reduction in time on planning and ordering. Think of what you could do with that extra time in your day, different areas that you could focus on. Huge results there. If you can reduce your inventory holding by 25%, what could you do with that additional cash in your business? And then finally, that 15% improvement on fill rates, making customers happy, keeping customers so they're not looking at someone else who could fill the orders quicker and more accurate. This is where it sets you apart, and this is what we're here to help you with. All right, so finally, inventory planning is just so complex. You know that, we know that. So instead of relying on outdated tools or gut feel, we want to make sure that the question isn't why Netstock, but it's why keep doing it the hard way. So from day one, we've been cloud native and now infused with AI to help you see, what's affecting your business and being proactive every single day. You're going to see different alerts helping you to focus on the things that matter the most to your company. So whether you're dealing with forecasting challenges, whether you have excess inventory, or you're just trying to build and scale with confidence, Netstock is here to help you plan that and to do that. So with that, that's it for me. I'm going to turn it over to Rian, and he's going to show you Netstock in action. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Lenny. Yeah, so hi, everybody. When you log into Netstock, the first thing that you'll see is your dashboard. And we show you these dashboards first because as somebody that has to manage inventory, there's really 2 things that we need to know. What do I need to fix and what do I need to order? Other than that, inventory sort of takes care of itself. And to help you determine first what you need to fix, we show you these dashboards. And the dashboards are laid out in a way that helps you focus on the right things that add value. So the top row of the dashboard is related to inventory holding. How much inventory do we have? But instead of just showing you how much you have, we show you what you should have based on the risks that we're going to measure in your business. So when we get data from your Klipboard ERP, we analyze that data and we look for things that add risk. And the things that add risk would be things like forecast volatility and supply variability. How easy is it to forecast my items, and how reliable are my suppliers? When I have forecasts that are wrong, are they high or are they low? And so on. And once we've measured those risks, we can tell you what your ideal inventory is that will help you get the best fill rates with the least amount of inventory holding so that you have the right things at the right place at the right time. So in this example, actual inventory is 10 million, model inventory is closer to 5.5 or 5.6 million. And the reason why we're not quite reaching our target is because we have excess stock, and we'll show you the top 5 items that are in excess, as well as the total excess that you have in your business. And our excess is measured as stock that you have in addition to what you need over your lead time, plus your safety stock, plus your typical cycle stock. The reason why we only show 5 items is because it's a nice, easy, manageable list. And it typically represents quite a large percentage of the total. So using 80-20 principles, we want to focus on those things that add the most value in the least amount of time. The next dashboard that we'll show you is a proactive dashboard, which is indicating that items that I'm purchasing are going to add to the excess that I already have. So in this example, there's $620 or $620,000 worth of surplus orders that I'm placing. And there could be various reasons for that. One might be to try and get a price break. Another might be that my demand changed since I placed the PO. But whatever the cause is, the idea is trying to cancel these so that they don't add to the excess that we have. Because if I don't do anything, I'm going to add another $600,000 to my existing excess. And that's just making things worse. The next row is related to fill rate. So how well have I been able to serve my customers? And the fill rate measure is over the last 30 days. And we'll take a daily snapshot of your inventory, check whether you had inventory available for items with demand. And if you didn't have inventory available, we mark it as not available, and it would deduct from your fill rate. And in this example, 86.6% fill rate means that if I had demand for $100,000 in the last 30 days, I would have only been able to fill 86,000 of that because of not having all the inventory at the right time. And the top 5 items here represent 3% of that fill rate deduction. So again, if I get just these 5 items back into stock consistently, I can get my fill rate up to 90% almost. And then we'll show you what is stocked out currently, as well as how much you could lose in sales potentially from now until you can replenish the items. And again, a proactive dashboard that shows you where I am going to stock out based on my demand and my lead time. So if I have a 60-day lead time and I only have 45 days on hand, it means that for 15 days, I'm going to be exposed. And during that time, I'm going to lose some sales potentially. And again, we'll show you how much you could lose potentially during that time until you can replenish these items. Now, what if I want to see more information about one of these items? I can simply click on the item, and it'll then give me the stock inquiry screen for that item. And in this screen, we show you as much information as possible so that you can make informed decisions. But not only are we going to show you, we also have AI to explain some stuff for you in case anything isn't clear. So right in the middle of this page, you can see the status screen. The status says it's a potential stock out. It says when it's going to run out and so on. And I can now click on Analyze, and it's going to use AI to give me a little more insight into this item. So I can quickly see, the item, what the status is, why it's a potential stock out, what the impact on my business is going to be. And then it's going to give me some recommendations. So tell your customers that you are going to stock out. And since you have open POs, ask your supplier to expedite those. And we make it easy for you because we have an AI agent that can actually compose an email for you. So I can say, hey, Mr. Customer, let's call it this guy, and compose. And then AI will create that email for you. And since we know what your lead times are and we know when your next PO is going to arrive, we can even tell the customer when we estimate it to be restocked. And you can then take this email as it is and send it, or you can edit if you need to. but when you click on open, it'll open your email client and you can send the email straight from there without having to go and look up things like, what is my next order, what is the customer's order number, etc. It's all captured for you in this email without you having to do anything. What we'll also show you in this screen is your policies. So what is my lead time for this item? What is my safety stock? And what is my reorder point? So when I get down to 114 days, I'll place an order for, and then 90 days later, when I'm down to 24 days on hand, which is my safety stock, that order should arrive. And I plan to buy this item once a month. So once a month, I'll get a shipment. Once a month, I'll place an order. I can see my current position. So I've got 63 days on hand against a 90-day lead time, and that's why this is potentially going to stock out. I can see my demands for this item, and what I can see is I can have multiple demand streams for a single SKU. So in this example, this item is both sold, so there's a sales forecast, but it's also a component in some of my bills of materials, so it has a BOM forecast. And the sum of the two is what we use to drive these numbers that you see here in the policy. We show you your safety stock for this item. Now, one of the things that really sets Netstock apart from almost any other demand planning software is how we calculate stock and what we take into account when we calculate that safety stock. So a typical safety stock calculation involves forecast error and lead time, and sometimes fill rate. What we find is if we just look at forecast error without looking at forecast bias, then you might add safety stock to a forecast that was already too high. Like if my forecast is consistently higher than my sales are, I want to deduct safety stock. I don't want to add safety stock. We also look at your supply risk. How long is my lead time is one thing, but how variable is that? Do I typically get stuff later than that? Or do I have a supplier that performs really well and actually sends me stuff before the stated lead time? That's also taken into account. And that's what these offsets means. So a negative offset on my supply risk means that the supplier is actually better than expected. And as a result, I need less safety stock. This 4-day offset on the forecast risk says, hey, my forecast is typically on the low side. So let's add some more safety stock so that I don't run out when my forecast is too low. And we have a really nice safety stock explainer here that also uses AI. And that will give me a quick idea of where the safety stock comes from, what the inputs are to that safety stock, etc. So it will give me my 2 risk factors, which is supply risk and forecast risk. And then it shows me my multipliers, so how often I buy plays a role in my safety stock. Like I can see the more frequently I buy small quantities, the more safety stock I need. So if I change this from buying it monthly to buying it every 2 months, my safety stock goes down to 17 days. I can see the effect of my lead time. Current lead time is 90 days. That's 24 days of safety stock. If I can get my supplier to keep some stock for me by providing them with a forecast, for example, and I can get them to get it down to 75 days, my safety stock goes down to 17 days. So I can quickly take out 7 days of safety stock just by improving my lead times. And then finally, my target fill rate. I'm aiming for 99.9, and that's the highest we can go. And that also causes most safety stock. If I'm okay with a 95% fill rate, my safety stock goes down to 15 days. And that might be something that is worth it to you, is to slightly have or have slightly lower initial target fill rates so that you don't tie up a lot of money in trying to get just that extra little bit of customer fill rates. And we'll help you when we set up the tool to find that balance between target fill rates and safety stock and what the investment would be to be able to accomplish those fill rates. Next thing we'll show you is your forecast. Forecasting is really important, and we'll show you your sales history as well as your sales forecast. And a nice thing here is I can actually go and click on a month, and it'll give me some stats around that month. So what was sold, what returns that I have, how many discrete customers bought this item, how many hits did I have, when was I out of stock, what was my selling price, what was my forecast. And if I click on this list, it'll actually show me the customers that purchased this as well as the invoice numbers. And we can add some more details here if you need us to. But you can see a lot of information without having to scroll again to different places or to look at different apps or different programs. We want to make it all visible in one place for you. And we can see historically how we've been forecasting, and this is where we calculate that forecast risk. So those olive lines are what my forecasts were over time, and the blue line is what my actual sales were over time. So I can see where the variances are. If I have stuff that's going to expire, we can show that as well. So here I can see different lots or batches that I've got in stock. I can see when it was produced, when an actual expiry is, what my effective expiry dates are. Because sometimes you can't sell it a day before it expires, so you'll have an effective expiry date, which is the last time I can sell it before that, or the last time my customer will accept it. And we'll show you what is going to expire as well as what is at risk of expiring. We'll show you open POs. We'll show you how your supplier is performing. So here I can see, the supplier has actually been early more frequently than they are late, and that's why my supply risk has a negative offset, is because they're typically early. I can see what my measured lead times are, and these are all my different deliveries over time. I can see any open sales orders. I can see the bill of material. So remember I said this item is a component in some bills of material, and here I can see where it's used. So it's used in these 3 finished goods, and the ratios you can see by hovering over the lines. And if I want to see how much demand I have from each of these, instead of seeing just the total, I can actually click on table here and see individually how much each of these are going to consume in the next year of this component. I can see a projection. So here I can see how my stock on hand is going to look like, what my demand looks like. And this red area means I am going to stock out for a while. And we know that because this item is in potential stock out. We'll also show you a supply chain map. And this is pretty cool because I can see like where the supply chain is for this item. So I can see I buy this from a primary vendor. It's used in 3 different BOMs. I also have 2 open customer orders as well as some forecasts. And then these BOM items, they also have sales orders and customers, etc. Or what I can do is I can look at a finished good. So I click on that finished good. And now I can see the finished goods forecast. And if I click on the BOM here, I can see its bill of material. And now, because this is further down in my sort of supply chain, the map will look a little bit different here. So here I can see, where it starts at the primary supplier for this component, these 2 components go into that sub-assembly. That sub-assembly goes into this, and then all the way down to where we finally sell this to a customer. So, a lot of information all in one place that you can see for an item. Now, one more thing that I wanted to touch on while we're talking about managing those exceptions is, I might have multiple warehouses and I have multiple dashboards. What do I need to focus on if I only have a little bit of time? And for that, we have our opportunities engine. And if I click on opportunities here, it'll show me where I have some opportunities to do something to save money or save time or prevent stockouts, etc. And I can say, show me, and it'll do it ranked by value. And it's going to say that this product in my Chicago location is at risk of expiring on April 5th. Up to 177 units are going to remain unsold by that time, which is 183 potential write-down that I have to do. And it will give you some advice. Prioritize selling this stock to reduce the waste. So like, wow, okay, I need to do something here. Or I can say, okay, well, show me next thing. And the next thing is, oh, this item is a potential stock out. So in my Detroit branch, this SKU is going to stock out by April 2nd, and I'm going to lose sales of 2,000 units. I can say, well, show me more. And here's a surplus order, so it tells you all of those things, again, ranked by value. And if you can sort of take care of the surplus order, for example, as $100,000 that I'm ordering that I don't need, let's say you cancel that order. Now you've paid for Netstock for the next 4 years. And we see this so often with our customers is they'll find one of these opportunities that already gives them ROI even before doing anything else. If I just want to look at a certain type of opportunity, I can. So, there's urgent recommended orders, for example, or where is my forecast too low? Where is my forecast too high? Where am I over ordering, etc. And let's say I'm a buyer and I don't really care that is the item that's going to expire because I'm not responsible for it. We can say, well, filter this by buyer. So I'm Pat. I only want to see my opportunities, and my list is going to look different. So we try and make this as easy for you as possible to manage those exceptions, so that you don't have to rely on spreadsheets, and you don't have to try and figure out, what is what. And then once we've managed those exceptions, typically the next thing we want to do is create some purchase orders, because we fought the fires we needed to fight. Now let's buy some stuff. And to place an order, you simply click on orders, and it'll show you by vendor what you need to buy today. And to make it even easier, we'll sort it for you by urgency. So urgency indicates that I have items that are stocked out that I buy from this vendor, potentially going to stock out, items with unfilled sales orders, items with nothing on order at all, etc. And that helps us focus, again, attention on what's going to add the most value the soonest. Now, one of the things that you'll notice, for me to create the PO for this vendor, I simply click on that button and I say create order. What some of our customers tell us is when they start with their spreadsheet, probably when they start with that spreadsheet until they know how much they want to order based on some very rudimentary math, sometimes takes them a day. Here you've got an order that was generated in a couple of seconds. And, we had a case study where one of our customers said that they had an error with a VLOOKUP in one of their spreadsheets, and it caused them to order the wrong product. A ton of it from a vendor, just because of a VLOOKUP error. And here you don't have that risk of having VLOOKUP errors because it's all done automatically in the background, and I can quickly see what I need to buy. And we don't just give you the quantity you need to buy, we also show you how we got there. So what is my lead time? What is my safety stock? How often do I buy this? What is my on-hand number? I can see I've got nothing on hand, so this item is stocked out. I've got nothing on order. I've got 8 sales orders, and all of them are overdue. I can see what my demand looks like, without having to go out and look at a different screen. And I can see, again, sales history and sales forecast. And if it was part of a BOM, it would have that forecast as well. And I can then review all of these items, and I can decide, okay, yeah, let's place this order. Or I can say, hey, my order comes to $91,000. I need to buy 100K to get free shipping. I can then say, let's add some items to this order. And I'm going to select a cost target of 100,000. Say solve. It got me to 99,965. Now I can decide what I want to add. So I'm going to add just something small, like this is $125 line. So now it got me just over my threshold without buying stuff that I don't need. I can then click on add. And now it will add up to just more than 100, which is what I needed. And I can then decide to download this order to a spreadsheet or send it to Klipboard. So if I click on download to ERP, it'll send this PO to Klipboard for you, and you don't have to go in and type that really long SKU and then remember to type 15 and accidentally type 150. It saves you all of that work. You just click on one button and it creates that PO for you. Now, one of the things that we also have, and I just don't have it in this demo, is the ability to fill a container. So let's say, you needed to order 100K for free shipping, but now that 100K results in 1.5 containers. I don't want to ship half a container. So what do I do? Like, we have container optimization as an option, and you can then say, hey, let's make it 2 containers, and we'll then look ahead at your projections for every SKU that you buy from that vendor, and we'll say, hey, this is not coming up for order today, but it is going to come up for order 7 days from now or 10 days from now. Let's bring it forward, add it to that container so that you fill a second container. And you can decide, do I want to fill it with high margin items? Do I want to fill it with cheap items? Do I want to fill it with items that are going to create the least excess? And you'll have those options, and you'll have different container sizes as well. So, by default, we'll show you all of the default containers, like all the ISO sizes. But if you have a specific volume container that might be special, you can add that as another one. And you can then pick which type of container we want to fill, and we'll help you fill those. And then let's say this order spans 2 containers. If I then click download, it'll create 2 POs, one for each container, so that it's easier to receive those things when the container arrives. And then when I'm done with ordering, I can simply go back to my order screen. Now I can see there's a little cloud there that shows it was been downloaded. So now I know I've worked on this already today, and I can go to my next vendor. Another thing that I just wanted to show, because remember I was talking about providing a forecast to your vendor. To do that is as easy as clicking on suppliers. I can then see all of my different vendors. I can see lead times. I can see how many products I buy from them, any open POs, etc. So I'm going to sort by the number of products I buy to get basically my biggest supplier at the top. And now I can see I've got 7 open POs worth 1.3 million, 12 historical POs, open orders of 1,500 units of $488,000. And if I click on supplier performance here I can see some stats around this vendor. So across my 4 warehouses, there's 2,300 items. I carry 2.4 million in inventory. Of that, 269,000 is safety stock, and that's quite a low number. And that's because the supplier has very good stats. My average supplier risk is only 10%. My average safety stock is only 1.3 days. My lead time is 99 days, so that's quite a good supplier to have such a long lead time and such low risk. I can see there's my 1,400 again in historical POs, 1,300 in open, and then future POs are 2.5 million. And that's already a little bit of a bargaining chip. If you go to your supplier and say, hey, Mr. Supplier, in the next 12 months, I'm going to buy $2.5 million from you. Can we work on some better terms? Or can you start stocking stuff for us so that we don't have to wait for you to produce it every time we place an order? And if they want more detail around what that 2.5 million entails, is you can click on the future tab. It'll show you the total value as well as the monthly values, which isn't quite yet useful. To get the actual useful stuff, you simply click on table and say, show me a summary by month. And here is my purchase forecast for the next 12 months for every item that I buy from the supplier, and it's broken down by warehouse. So I can see by warehouse how much I'm going to need to buy for the next 12 months. And this I can put in an Excel file by clicking Excel download, and I can send it off to my vendor, and there's their forecast. Sometimes just to do that takes some of our customers hours and hours, because they have to try and figure out first, well, what is my sales forecast? Then what do I think my on-hand is going to look like based on that sales forecast? We do all of those things for you in the background every day, and you can just execute from here very quickly and efficiently. One more thing that I wanted to show was our projection, because the projection also shows us, again, what those future orders are going to look like, but also shows us how your inventory is going to perform. So I'm going to run a projection for Los Angeles. And the numbers that we see here are what we actually see from customers. We've seen this so many times where customers get these type of savings. And in this example, inventory going down by 18%. That's a huge reduction. Fill rates going up by 14%. And what we found is if you increase your fill rates by 14%, your revenues go up by about half of that, so about 7%. And the reason for that is you have fewer stockouts. And if you have fewer stockouts, you have fewer lost sales. And sometimes, you might have an item that isn't out of stock, but you lose the sale because another item in the basket was out of stock. So if fewer items are out of stock, your sales on sometimes other items improve as well. And we're forecasting some more improvement in the turn quantities, so going up 3% in turns. We can show inventory, how it performs over time. So here I can see my opening inventory. I can see how my excess is going down. I can see my firm and projected receipts as well as my total receipts. I can see my demand. So demand, there's a bunch of different demand types. So there's forecast and sales orders, it's bill of material demand. If this was set up as a distribution center, it will also show me my MRP, my DRP, my distribution requirements forecast. We show you forecasted stock adjustments. So because we know that sometimes you are going to run out of stock, we'll actually take that into account when we calculate your demand. We'll show you any future sales orders, any projected lost sales, and anything that's going to expire into the future as well. So those are all taken into account when we calculate those projections and when we calculate the recommended orders that you see. And then finally, one more thing that I wanted to show was our report builder. And the report builder is really nice in that, although we say we can get you out of those spreadsheets, sometimes spreadsheets are inevitable, and we want to make it as easy for you as we can to create your own reports by giving you access to report builder. So, let's say I want to know what's going to expire going forward. So I can create a stock expiration report like this example. And here I can see my location, my product, what is expired already, what will expire, and when will it expire. So I can go 6 months ahead, for example, and see what's going to expire. And what's cool about this as well is we have an AI explainer. So let's say I didn't create this report and I'm not sure what it's going to do. I can click on explain, and our report explainer will tell you the purpose of the report, as well as what the data is where the data is coming from. And then once I'm happy with all of that, I can click on preview, for example, and it'll show me then what is going to expire and in which period it's going to expire. And if I click run and download, it'll put that in a spreadsheet for me as well. So now there I have got my expired stock spreadsheet, and it's basically as easy as that. So, do we have any questions?
Tanya or Matt, I'm not sure if there are any questions in the queue. Okay. So I see a question here, Rian. How long does it take to implement Netstock? And whoops, there's something else. Oh, and how is it priced? So the pricing structure.
Okay. Yeah, so implementing Netstock, because Klipboard is a connected ERP, the connection to Klipboard is really a matter of minutes. And from there, it's between 6 and 10 weeks, depending on the customer. We work at the customer's pace. So if you're a customer that don't have any other projects that you're working on right now and you can focus about 2 hours a week on this. You can get up and running in 6 weeks. If you're running a bunch of other projects and you don't have a lot of time to allocate to it, it might take up to 12 weeks. But we don't hold you to a date. So, we work at your pace, and we'll make sure that you've got the tools that you need. And we want to make sure that you're successful, because your success is obviously our success. In terms of pricing, it is based on inventory value that you have at cost, and there are different tiers. So the lowest tier is up to 5 million, I think, and then between 5 and 10, 10 and 20, 20 and 30, etc. And the reason why we base it on inventory value is because of that opportunity to save money. The more inventory you have, typically the more money you can save, but also typically the more complex you are. So because there's more inventory, implementations are a little bit more complex. Modules that you might need are a little more complex, and so on. So that's why it's based on that.
Fabulous. All right, so I have a few more that are popping up. Do you take dependent demand on raw materials into consideration?
Yes, we do. Yes, and I did show that in the demo with the mob, showing that it had both dependent and independent demand.
Okay, perfect. I probably could have answered that if I would have probably been listening better, Rian. So that's why you're the smart one on this webinar. All right, so here's a good one. This is one of my favorite parts of Netstock. So what's next for Netstock in terms of AI functionality?
Okay. Yeah, so some of the AI that I showed was the item explainer, the safety stock explainer. We also have the report explainer that I showed. We have an executive dashboard, and here we have a analyzer as well. What the executive dashboard does is it shows you, just how your business is doing quarter over quarter. Yeah, it's got a cool AI analyzer as well that will give you an executive summary for your business. And some of our customers tell us, when they had to create a report for their quarterly meetings, that take them a couple of days to grab spreadsheets and calculate stuff. Here, now it's 2 clicks and they have an executive summary with key findings and recommendations. So it saves you a lot of time. What's coming in the future? In the very near future, we have AI-assisted ordering. So when I showed you that order schedule with all of those different SKUs, what we're doing every time a customer creates one of those, and we've been doing this now since 2011, so we've been saving those data. We've got a data lake. We've got our own AI, our own machine learning. And what we've been doing is monitoring how people change orders, monitoring what they change, etc. And we'll be able to give you a confidence score for each line in that PO. And we'll admit, we don't think this order quantity is great. We think you might change it based on past behavior, based on what you've seen. And you can then just look at the ones where our confidence score is low, and the rest you really don't have to worry about, because they just work. What's also coming is a forecast explainer. So sometimes you might see a forecast that you don't know where that came from. We'll have a forecast explainer that will tell you how that forecast was calculated, as well as AI is forecasting. That's also coming. Yeah, that's the AI roadmap for
now. That's a lot. Love it. All right, I think final question. So this is pretty open-ended. So what makes Netstock different from other software that
I think the core, like we mentioned at the start, Netstock didn't just start from nothing. So everybody that started Netstock actually worked at a enterprise company that sold similar software, but for millions. Instead of a couple of $1,000 a month, we used to charge $200,000 to $300,000 just in maintenance. I've done implementations that were $3 million. So, but what we did was we looked at what that software had that people used and that added value, and we distilled it into something that is cloud-based and very easy to implement and easy to deploy, so that guys like you have the same tools as those big enterprise companies. That's the one part. The second part is our people. Our customers love us so much that they actually come work for us. We have a ton of customer success consultants that used to be customers. And we have very, very low turnover in both customers and employees. So, our employees stay. We don't have turnover, and our customers stay. We have very, very high retention rates on both of those. We have 24/5 support. It did say on that slide it's 9 to 5 during the week, but because we're global, if it's late in the evening on the West Coast, we'll have people in Australia that'll help you. If it's really early on the East Coast, we'll have people in England and South Africa that will help you. And these guys that we see here, these are implementation consultants that, while they're not busy implementing, they're managing and helping answer questions. So if you have a question about something on the screen, you can simply type it in here, and AI will help you. If you don't want AI to help you, you can just click on messages and you can send them a message and they will respond. And they'll answer your questions for you right there. So I think those are the biggest things that really set us apart.
I agree. I think I'd throw one more thing in there is we offer unlimited users. And in addition to that, because we want this to be a company-wide tool, there's also our Netstock University just access at your fingertips. So if there's someone new to Netstock, they can learn right online, click of a button, as Rian is showing here. And I truly believe that sets us apart from other companies as well. So it's truly used to be managed across the entire organization.
So here's an example of our learning libraries. Inventory essentials, what is a stocking indicator? What does classification mean? And so on. So we go through all of these things for you. And also, as you implement, we don't just say, okay, now we're doing this. It's like, okay, here's your training, go through the training, and then one of our implementation consultants will go through it with you again and then show you in real life, why we're doing it, how we're doing it. We don't just tell you do this. It's like this, the reasoning why, and what the impacts are of your decisions. So yeah, I think we try and be as thorough as possible when it comes to learning, because we want you guys to be self-sufficient and effective in what you do.
Absolutely. Perfect. Well, I think Tanya wanted to jump on and wrap up the webinar. Tanya, are you able to join us?
Yep. Guys, sorry, my camera's not turning back on, but
it's okay. We can hear you.
Okay, good. Wanted to thank you for attending today's webinar. We hope the session demonstrated how the new Klipboard and Netstock integration really help drive measurable improvements and support your organization's key objectives. To see these outcomes in action and understand the impact that the solution could have on your business, we now invite you to schedule a personalized demo with your Klipboard account manager. So again, thank you for attending and hope to speak to you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Bye-bye.